Chapter 8, Mishnah 7. Having discussed the distribution of Maaser Ani to the poor, the Mishnah discusses the distribution of other charity funds. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. We do not give a poor person who is traveling from place to place less than a loaf of bread that costs a pundian at the time when 4 se'ah of wheat cost a selah. That is, if a poor traveler passes through a town, the local charity organization must give him at least this amount of bread, which is enough for 2 meals, the normal amount that a person eats each day. If he stays in town overnight, they must also supply him with his needs for the night, namely a place to sleep, a bed, and bedding. If he stays in the town over Shabbat, they must provide him with food for 3 meals rather than 2, because on Shabbat, a person is obligated to eat 3 meals. The Mishnah now discusses 2 types of charity funds. One was the charity plate, tamchui, a fund of prepared food that was distributed to poor travelers who had no food. A poor traveler who has enough food for 2 meals may not take food from the charity plate, because that fund is designated solely for those who do not have enough food for the day. Another charity fund was the charity box, kupah, to which every family in town contributed a fixed amount of money every Friday. The money was distributed to poor residents of the town to cover the cost of their meals for the coming week. A poor person who has enough food for 14 meals may not take money from the charity box, because that fund is designated solely for people who cannot afford meals for the coming week. This person has enough food for the next week. 14 meals is enough to last through the week, 2 meals a day. The Mishnah discusses the charity box. Money for the charity box must be collected by a team of 2 collectors, because the collectors have the legal authority to tax the townspeople who contribute money to this fund, and a tax must be collected by a minimum of 2 people. And the money from the charity box must be distributed to the poor by a panel of 3 people. Since each poor person's needs must be assessed in order to determine how much money he deserves, the distribution has the status of a monetary judgment, which cannot be made by less than 3 people.